We will start this session. So thank you to all participants. And I think we will be here 40 to 45 minutes in this session. And the topic which I shall discuss in this session is embedding sustainability in design, engineering, and technology. And as in the opening remark during inauguration, I told that this is a topic which is very closed nowadays to industry, and industry want to focus on sustainability not because of fashion, but now it is a necessity. So industry necessity is control the cost, improve the quality of product, and also decrease the environmental pollution, because there is pressure on the industry that they must have to control the environmental pollution. Otherwise, they will be not allowed to operate the manufacturing process. So in order to achieve cost economics, quality improvement, and reduce environment pollution, we have to embed sustainability into our design, engineering, and technology. So just going to next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay. So is it coming? Topics to be discussed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is coming. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So here in this session, first I shall discuss my experience with sustainability. So there we will see a case study of Unilever as well as UPL, that how sustainability helped those organizations. Then I shall discuss UN intervention to make sustainable Earth. So here I shall try to give a flavor that why nowadays industry is focusing towards sustainability. Then we will see the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And then in last three slides, we will see that what kind of a structured approach we need to adopt in industry to embed the sustainability. And then if time will permit, then I shall share some of the case study of some of new sustainable technology which we have developed and implemented. And then at last, one slide I shall show you regarding global environmental conditions. So with this, we will conclude the session. So first thing is, which I want to share during this talk, is my experience with sustainability in two major organizations. Although I have worked in several organizations in last 24 year, but here I shall cover two case study. One case study of embedding sustainability in Unilever, and the second case study I shall share embedding sustainability at UPL. And if you see the slide and if you go through these data, then you will see that when we embedded sustainability inside Unilever during the period of 2011-16, then roughly we able to reduce 50% environment footprint globally, and the cost saving we achieved was nearly 100 million US dollar per year. And you can see here breakup that out of CO2 emission reduction, we able to save 73 million US dollar per year. Out of water reduction, we able to save 4 million US dollar, and out of waste reduction, we able to save 23 million US dollar. So this is example and case study of Unilever. Now the another example is UPL, where right now I am working and I am heading environment sustainability and green sale at UPL globally. And our experience at UPL is also very good with sustainability. In 2016, we launched one ambitious program where we launched the program UPL Sustainable Development Plan, and we committed that we will reduce 30% our environment footprint in 4 years of time. And in 4 years, we reduce CO2 30%, water reduction we achieve 25%, and waste reduction we achieve 28%. And when you see the entire monetary benefit out of reduction of environment footprint, then total it is coming 27 million US dollar saving per year. And breakup of CO2 reduction, how much cost saving from the water, how much from the waste has been shown on this slide. So what I want to say that sustainability is for the profitability of business. We should not think that it is a liability. It is a need of our, and we can save a lot of cost when we embed sustainability into our design, engineering, and technology. Now, moving to the next slide. So here, I want to show you that what is the UN intervention to make sustainable Earth. And I think if we look at the United Nations several activity and the several work, I summarized and I found two things very good in field of sustainability. One is UN Sustainable Development Goal. So in 2016, United Nations came out with 17 Sustainable Development Goals for the world, and their target date is to achieve 2030. And second is in 2016, Paris Agreement on climate change that came, and the main aim of Paris Agreement is limit temperature rise well below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So I think at this moment of time, at industry, our aim is to ensure that our sustainability strategy is fully aligned with United Nations Sustainable Development Goal and Paris Climate Agreement. And here I think I want to give message to the all faculty member who are attending this faculty development program is that they should focus to teach the students that what is sustainable development goals and what is Paris Agreement climate change, and also how they should think in design, engineering, and technology to embed these elements such that we can able to achieve SDG, and also we can able to achieve the goal of Paris Agreement on climate change. So these two are very important things, and globally work is going on. It is not only for India, but the students who will come out from the colleges, if they will work in industry anywhere in the world, any part of world, they must have to think on these two agenda of United Nations. Now this is important things, UN Sustainable Development Goals. So these all are the 17 goals, and I will not spend much more time on this because nowadays everyone is familiar with these 17 goals. But why I am listing this? Because there is a 17 goal, and when anyone is going in industry or any other area of work, it's not necessary that we can able to address all the 17 sustainable development goals. We should must think that what will be our priority area. And at UPL, we are thinking that how to achieve the sustainable development goal. And when we started the process of thinking, then we found that we must prioritize the SDG for our work. And we found at UPL that 5 SDG goal. One is zero hunger, second is responsible consumption and production, third is industry innovation and infrastructure, fourth is affordable and clean energy, and fifth is good health and well-being. These 5 are the very important SDG for our operation. And now we have made our program and plan to achieve how to work more and more on these SDG at UPL. And so here what I want to give message that this 5 priority area is for UPL, but in any industry, if anyone is dealing, then they have to first think that what will be the priority area for them. So first prioritize the SDG for the organization and then develop the program, policy and action plan to achieve the SDG. At UPL, when we prioritize 5 SDG, then later on we have developed UPL sustainable goals for 2025. And here in this slide, you can see what those 4 goals, broader goals of UPL is. And we have set target and goal for our organization. And our first goal is reduce operation environment footprint. And the target in this reduce operation environment footprint is 30% reduction of environment footprint by 2025 from the baseline 2019-20. So a very well thought goal and target has been set. Second goal we set at UPL is enhance world food security, and our target is that 15% increase crop yield by 2025 from baseline 2019-20. Third, our goal is enhance sustainable raw material sourcing, and our target is 80% sustainable sourcing by 2025. And our fourth goal is enhance community well-being, and there our target is help 5 million farmers to improve their health and education. So I think you can see that these 4 goals are there. Then we have also already find out what will be the action plan to achieve this goal. And then at bottom you can see that how we have correlated SDG with our goal. So I think this is a case study of UPL where we have framed our UPL sustainability goal by 2025. But with this, I want to narrate that the students who happens to come from college, especially engineering colleges, they, irrespective of a stream, they must know that sustainability is very important. And while designing any product, design engineering, they have to think about the sustainability. I think the next thing is the corporate sustainability. So here I want to show that when we talk sustainability, then we must include triple bottom line: economic dimension, environment dimension, and social dimension. And at this moment of time, there is a need to re-look on the syllabus of colleges, whether they have included all these aspects in sustainability or no. My experience is that in the last 24 years, I don't see any single year where we have not recruited the students from the campuses for our operation. And I used to interview several students, several engineering students and MBA students to recruit management trainee. Also, we used to take interview of the experienced people. But I found that when we discuss sustainability, then I found there happens to be confusion in the mind of students coming out from the colleges, that sustainability means sometimes they feel CSR activity, company social responsibility. Sometimes they feel that it is a kind of charity work where we have to work for the charity and we have to improve the life of people. So I think the colleges are the best place where we have to manage our syllabus and curriculum in such a way that students be very clear that when they will go in the industry, then they should be very clear that what all needed in sustainability. And if you see economic dimension, then under economic dimension, they have to learn that what is the corporate governance. They should also must have understanding that how to identify the material issue of any group or company, then risk and crisis management, code of business conduct, customer relationship management, policy influence, tax strategy, innovation management. And if we see the environmental dimension of sustainability, then they must be familiar that how the environmental reporting need to be done, how we can formulate and implement the environmental policy and management system, how we can incorporate operational eco-efficiency in product design. And here it is a very important for the especially engineers and scientists to think that how our product should be eco-efficient. And eco-efficient means there should be a 3 target. One is how their product will use less water inside the manufacturing process, how less CO2 emission will take place out of manufacturing process, and how waste disposal will be reduced, waste generation will be reduced out of operation. And I think to design any product, we must need to understand this, and we must need to incorporate sustainability element into design engineering. And another experience my is that while conceptual and designing a stage, it is very easy to embed the sustainability. But if you want to embed sustainability at the operation stage, execution stage, at that time it's become difficult, but it's very easy to embed at the design and conceptual stage. And then under social dimension, the main is related to safety, human right, human development, and social reporting, and how to align the stakeholders. Those all elements need to be incorporated. So I think I shall go to the next, but before going to next slide, here I want to make it clear that we must see that whether the syllabus has included all these dimensions under sustainability or no. And we must frame a balanced syllabus such that a student can focus in those areas. Also, it will be helpful for the faculty to deliver the lecture on all these topics. Unless until we embed into syllabus this element, it's difficult to achieve the goals and objective. So very important that syllabus must be relooked, and syllabus must include all these triple line of sustainability element and all these aspects must be taught to the student. And very good reference material is Dow Jones Sustainability Index. If you download a report from the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, who used to rate the industry and groups internationally on the sustainability, you will find that actually what they are looking. Under economic dimension, you will find 50-60 question. Under environment dimension, you will find 50-60 question. Under social dimension, you will find 50 to 60 question. If any person will read that report of Dow Jones Sustainability Index, then they will able to frame very well syllabus for the sustainability curriculum of engineering college or any institution. Even in nowadays in management colleges also, sustainability is a very important topic. So coming to my organization UPL, how we adopted the structured approach towards sustainability, and this will give a flavor to all the participants that actually what industry want, that when any management trainees are coming inside organization or any engineers we are recruiting in our organization, actually what industry want, that they want that there should be a structured way and a structured approach towards sustainability. And under a structured approach, first thing is that the triple bottom line approach should be included in sustainability strategy. And triple bottom line is nothing but environment dimension, economic dimension, and social dimension. All these three must be included in the sustainability strategy of any group. Then second is the reporting. So doing good thing is right, but at the same time, we should report also. And nowadays, it is very important that world community must understand that what any organization is doing and what steps they are taking to embed the sustainability as well as to control the environmental pollution. And we should must have a regular display of information related to sustainability on our website. And at UPL, we have launched a special website where we used to put information related to sustainability and our action and our achievement. Then sustainability reporting. So sustainability report as per GRI guidelines, this is a very important, and I think almost all good organization now start following this. At UPL also we used to report on regular basis sustainability report, and in sustainability report it must be third party audited, and also it must follow the GRI guidelines. And here all the information related to sustainability, environment footprint, governance, social dimension, safety, all must be included in sustainability report, and it should put on the public domain. And then another important element of sustainability is participation in the international sustainability rating process, DJSI and FTSE. DJSI, Dow Jones Sustainability Index, is a global sustainability index. And if any organization participate in this survey, then they used to assess and audit the organization, and then they give rating out of 100, what is the score of that organization. And similarly, FTSE is a London Stock Exchange sustainability rating, and they also provide the rating. And we must the students coming out of colleges, they must understanding that what is DJSI, what is FTSE, and how we can improve the score in all these agency by embedding sustainability into design, engineering, and technology. Then some of the membership I have discussed in this slide, WBCSD. So World Business Council for Sustainable Development, WBCSD, this is a global organization where more than 300 good companies are member, and the main aim of WBCSD is to achieve the sustainable development goal. So they help the corporate to formulate the program and policy to achieve the SDG. Then second is responsible care. Responsible care logo is normally given by Indian Chemical Council, and Indian Chemical Council have several kind of audit process where they do the auditing and then they provide the responsible care logo. This logo has been given to those companies who are working responsibly, who are consuming the natural resources responsibly. And UPL is also a responsible care logo holder company. FTSE for Good is another good logo from the FTSE. This is from the London Stock Exchange, and this logo is also given to those organizations who works very good work in field of sustainability. Now coming to the topic, embedding sustainability in design, engineering, and technology. Here, first I have explained that sustainability means there should be a 3 dimension. One is economic dimension, second is environment dimension, and third is social dimension. Now here I shall discuss exclusive environmental dimension, that how we can consider the environment and how we can embed environmental sustainability into the operation and also in design and engineering. So I think the first very important part is environmental policy and management system. So if you see any organization and if you want to deal with sustainability, then the first important thing is that the organization must have a very well defined environment policy and management system. And the environment management policy and system must include environmental policy, then target, what will be the target? There should be a well-defined budget, that what will be the budget to achieve the target, and a very good monitoring mechanism should be included on regular basis to monitor that how the implementation is going on and what kind of result we are achieving out of implementation of these policies. Second part is operational eco-efficiency. And operational eco-efficiency is very important for the design, engineering, and technology. And here we must have to embed the sustainability element such that we can achieve the CO2 reduction, we can achieve the solid waste reduction, we can achieve the water reduction, and we can achieve the wastewater reduction. And I think this is a main area where the maximum responsibility lie on the engineers, scientists who design the product or process. And they should be very careful, because if we will not embed the element of sustainability at design stage, then it's very difficult to achieve at the latter stage. And my experience in last 24 years is that best place to embed the sustainability is at the conceptual and design stage. If we can consider there itself, then the rest things follow and the rest things fall in line. So I feel that the maximum responsibility lie on the designer of any product or process. They must thought in the mind that when they are designing certain process or certain product, then first they should try to see that whether their design is eco-efficient from the earlier design or no. And to see the eco-efficiency, first they should question that whether CO2 emission will be reduced in this design from the earlier design or no. If they found that yes, CO2 reduction will take place, then I think they have considered the sustainability into design. Second is they should consider that how much solid waste will be generated. If reduction is possible in the current design from the previous design, then I think they have well thought and considered the sustainability. Then third is the water reduction. Today, water is one of the major issues around the world, and we must have to think that how we can use efficiently our water resources and wastewater reduction. So I think these elements must be considered while designing the product or process. Then third part under environmental sustainability is environmental compliances. So design is one thing, but also our design should be in such a way that all the norms must be compliant. Means there should be a zero tolerance toward the non-compliances. And that should be also considered while designing the product and process. And the last part is sustainability reporting. So here we must report what good work we have done and how much pollution we are creating in environment, how we are tackling the environment pollution, and what kind of a strategy organization has adopted to tackle the issue of environment pollution. Those things must be come through the sustainability reporting, such that the people around the plant and operation able to understand that the company is caring for the environment and company is embedding the sustainability into the operation. So I think these all are the important element which need to be embedded under environmental sustainability. Then at last you can see the certification. So the students coming out from college, I think their curriculum must also include, they must have a knowledge that what is the LEED certification, because LEED is a very good element. If we will take the certification from LEED, it means our product is eco-efficient. Similarly, what is the responsible care logo? What is FTSE for good logo? What is ISO? What is Dow Jones Sustainability Index? I think these must be included in our syllabus, and the students who are taking knowledge from the engineering college, management college, they must be taught these things such that they should be very clear with all these topics, and when they come in industry, they start implementing the sustainability, they start embedding the sustainability. So I think the expectation from the industry is this, that these all elements must be taught to students. So how much time I have? Because I'm not able to see the watch. Can anyone indicate how much time left?
Sir, another 10 minutes, sir.
Okay, another 10 minutes. So I shall go quickly, and I think this need not be explained in detail, because this talk is a kind of generalized talk. We are not going detail about the technology, but here I have given one flavor through this presentation, that what all new sustainable technology recently we have implemented inside the UPL. So I am also in charge of Green Cell. So Green Cell at UPL consists several engineer, researcher and technocrats, and their only work is to think about the sustainable green technology, pilot it, source it, implement it inside the organization and customized it. So recently we have embedded, one is the ScaleVan. So a ScaleVan is a technology where the treated wastewater can be directly used in cooling tower and you can reduce the demand on fresh water. Similarly, Volute is a technology where it is a very good and compact system to de-sludge the sludge generated from the ETP. So here it is a dewatering device where the sludge generated from the ETP get dewatered, and this is a noise-free, very less power consumption happen. It is a continuous process, very compact process, and it is very good inside the ETP to dewater the sludge. Another technology we have implemented recently is OH radical. So OH radical is a technology who able to treat the wastewater. Even the TDS of wastewater happens to be higher, nearly 70,000 ppm. So normal wastewater treatment plant, if you go in industry, they use biological treatment, mostly activated sludge process technique. And the problem in those technique is in biological treatment that when TDS is more than 10,000 ppm, those technology and those process doesn't work well. And in chemical industry, if you see the effluent, the major problem is they have higher TDS, higher total dissolved solid inside the effluent. And this OH radical, which we implemented recently, is a very good technology to treat the wastewater even at higher TDS level. The last you can able to see forward osmosis technology, FO technology. This is also a new technology which we implemented for wastewater treatment, and it is also one of the good green and sustainable technology. Now another this graph I am showing here is a sustainable effluent treatment scheme. So actually with this scheme, I want to show that inside any operation, we must segregate the effluent. At this moment of time, people used to do the practice that let all wastewater come at one place and treat with one single technology, ETP. It's not achievable. Actually, the right way is first segregate the stream into green, yellow, and red stream. Green stream is having lesser TDS, less than 5,000 ppm, and that can be treated through biological treatment. Yellow stream is slightly difficult effluent where the TDS is higher than 10,000 ppm but less than 1 lakh ppm, and we can implement FO or OH radical technology. And the third stream is a red stream, which is a very difficult stream, very high TDS, very high COD, and there the multi-effect evaporation can be implemented. So here I want to show that the structured approach need to be adopted to tackle the wastewater treatment. And inside our UPL, we have embedded this approach in our treatment process where we maximum focus on the segregation. First, we used to segregate the effluent into green, yellow, and red stream, and then we apply appropriate technology, and finally we used to achieve the desired result. Now, last slide, this I want to show you on the global environmental issues. So here, what I want to give a flavor that at this moment of time around the world, people are making hue and cry that only industry are the main source of pollution, and especially for India, people are saying that we have a lot of pollution from industry. So you can see the data. Actually, you can understand what right now the global scenario is. So first you can see the global manufacturing. If you see the European Union, they used to manufacture chemicals And if you see their export, at this moment, they are exporting nearly 972 billion US dollar. United States, 206 billion US, it is just export. And if you see India, India is exporting only 41 billion US dollar worth export under chemical. So I want to show here that India export is very, very minimum as compared to the other country, other developed country of the world. So the people are saying that we are making more and more chemical in India. It's not true. It is a myth. Actually, our manufacturing quantity in India is very, very less as compared to the rest of developed country in the world. So we should not carry the impression that we are doing huge manufacturing of chemical. Our share in the world is just 2%, and if you see alone European Union, their share is 50%. Now you come on the CO2 emission per capita. So there is a hue and cry after the Paris Agreement that there is a more CO2 emission happen in the environment, and so why global warming and other issues are coming. Here also we should be very clear that India contribution as far as CO2 emission per capita concerned is a minimum to the other developed country of the world. If you see Australia, United States, Canada, South Korea, Russia, China, UK, France, they are far, far more ahead in emission of CO2 emission per capita to the India. And you can see the data. India CO2 emission per capita is lower. Now you come on the ecological footprint. So ecological footprint means if all world start living like India, then we need 70% of earth. And if entire world start living like USA, living style, then the world need 4.8 earth, nearly 5 earth is needed for the world. So the ecological footprint of India is very less as compared to other. It means our way of living, our way of consumption, and our way of looking toward environment protection and sustainability is very good than rest of the developed country of the world. Now the last point I want to show you, see the effluent seawater discharge standard. And there you will see that India effluent seawater discharge standards are very, very stringent to the rest of country. Like if you see Turkey, if you see USA, you compare with New Zealand, Colombia, our wastewater discharge standards are stringent than rest of world. So I think with this slide, I want to give a flavor to all the faculty who are attending this program is that India is very good and well placed as far as sustainability and environment protection is concerned. We are not manufacturing very high in terms of manufacturing. We are lower, so we need to increase our manufacturing base, because our population and our geographical area is very high as what I have indicated the other country in this list. As far as CO2 emission is concerned, we are well placed. We are minimum emissions per capita and we are lower. As far as ecological footprint is concerned, we are well placed and our way of living, our way of operation is very good as compared to rest of world. And as far as standards, regulations is concerned, our regulations are most stringent than rest of world. So I think this flavor at last I want to give you through the data. You can see here source of all the data, and you should not carry in your mind that India is not doing good as far as sustainability as environment protection is concerned. But at the same time, we are committed for the Paris Agreement, and India need to do a lot in this direction. And the summary is this, that India is not part of global environment problem, but yes, India want to be part of global solution. We are not saying like USA that we will not participate, we will not obey Paris Agreement. Even though our pollution level per capita is minimum, but still we are part of Paris Agreement, and our country is committed to abide by Paris Agreement on climate change. So I think with that, I shall conclude my talk. Now it's open for the question and answer session.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request the participants, if you have any queries, kindly ask your, please raise your hand, or you can type your questions in the chat box. Or you can unmute. Okay, sir. Thank you. I think there is no queries are there from the participant side. So we would, from the, thank you so much for accepting our request and becoming the chief guest and giving this the first session of this.
Hello, sir.
5 days. Yeah. Please, sir.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah, please.
Good morning, Mrutyunjay, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, please introduce yourself, sir. You please introduce yourself, sir.
Okay, sir. This is Rajesh Singuru from Raghu Engineering College, Visakhapatnam.
Yes.
So I have a doubt regarding, that means what are the courses that we can learn? That means regarding any diploma courses or anything such towards the sustainability courses.
So there are several courses, and most of courses in field of sustainability is either at bachelor level or at PG level. So at PG level, most of courses are there. And nowadays I found one postgraduate diploma program, IIM Lucknow has started, and NITI Mumbai is giving very good program in sustainability management. IIT has also several program in environmental engineering and sustainability. Indian Forest Management Institute, Indian Institute of Forest Management, they have also program on PG level related to sustainability. So I think most of program are at postgraduate level related to sustainability.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your answers. Thank you.
Is there anybody, sir? Is there anybody, sir, who is want to ask any questions to sir? Okay, sir. We will be in touch with you, sir. So if they have any doubts, the participants will ask, then we will be directly sending you the mail to get the answer from you, and we will automatically forward the same thing to the participants, sir. Sir, one question is there from Dr. Bindu. Ma'am, can you able to, can you able to unmute and you can ask directly, ma'am?
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Ma'am, please introduce, ma'am. Please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Sir, this is Dr. Brinda from Tamil Nadu, sir. Sir, in your slide, you have shown that the treated water can be used in cooling towers. It is also one of the way of sustainability to use of wastewater, sir. Actually, my question is, even though it is treated water, it may contain a few bacterial counts like TBC, TFC will be there, no? So whether it won't affect what to say, any treated, you have shown that scale bun, no, sir, that container, or I don't know exactly what is it. But my question is whether it affects directly or indirectly that the TBC or TFC counts.
So actually, see, I have used treated wastewater. Why? Because in wastewater treatment, we must implement chlorination or a disinfection process such that the E. coli bacteria should be nil from the wastewater, and that wastewater can be recycled into cooling tower with the use of a scale band technology. Actually, the why we are not using wastewater in a cooling tower, because of TDS. So if you implement reverse osmosis at tertiary stage, then fine. Then you can remove the TDS and you can use in cooling tower. But RO is very costly and operation is costly. So without RO, you cannot use the treated water inside the cooling tower. Here the scale band technology offers the solution. No need of using RO. Just treat the wastewater as per the requirement of the standard, and then you can recycle into cooling tower and there will be no scaling. So basically, a scale ban is a technology which prevent the scaling of cooling tower, and you can recycle the water as high as 2,50,000 ppm TDS. So up to 2,50,000 ppm, you can recycle and reuse the water inside cooling tower with the help of a scale band technology.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So anyone have question? Otherwise, we will conclude.
Sir, good morning, sir. It was a wonderful session, and it's an honor to hear from you, sir. I have no question regarding the. I'm Meena Kapahi, and I'm from Faridabad, Manav Rachna University, from chemistry department, associate professor from chemistry department, Manav Rachna University, and we do have an elective environment and sustainability. Which includes all these components like introduction, MDGs, SD, from journey from MDGs to SDGs, and then sustainable reporting, sustainability strategies. How do companies formulate that? And we make our students do certain activities involving these topics. And I would request if I can get in touch with you and get more insights onto how we can improve upon or involve our students into such initiatives, small initiatives, which we can implement for the society or the community.
So I think I said love to be associated. So you can get my contact number from the organizers of this training program, and if you want to be in touch or you want to ask
so much,
question or want to engage, so I think we will discuss.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thanks
a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And sir, thank you so much for, I think, in a morning session for taking 2 hours from you. It's really a great honor from you, sir. Thank you so much. And really, the participants has get triggered in the initiation of this FDP program. And I think you have given the depth of what really the sustainable meaning for the industries. And as we are the teaching fraternity, and we are triggering our students fraternity for making ready for the industries. So definitely we assure you, sir, we will prepare sustainable engineers for industry, and so that they will lead our country towards sustainability, which is the real requirement for Make in India or Made in India concepts. Thank you so much, sir, for being part of this program. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, and have a great day, sir. Thank you so much. I request participants.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I request participants, you can have a break of 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll start the next session at 11:45 by Dr. Gangagni Rao, who is the chief scientist and